Good afternoon, councillors, staff, visitors. I welcome you to this agenda briefing. Can we acknowledge that we're meeting on the lands of the traditional owners of this land, the Noongar Wadandi people, and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal community and their culture, and to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you, councillors. I have no announcements. Attendance. Do we have any apologies, Mr. CEO? I think we have Councillor Steele.
We do, Deputy Mayor. We do have Councillor Steele, and we also obviously have the Mayor, who's away.
Yes, the Mayor, of course. Most important member. That's why I'm sitting here. We have no public question time. Is there any declarations of interest, councillors? Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, can I ask the Minute Secretary to... Thank you. Uh, 10.51, Climate Action Sustainability Working Group, have an impartiality, acquainted with two of the nominees. 10.2.1, proposed closure of the Drainage Reserve, I'm friends with the Veen family. And 10.3.1, acquainted with several of the appointments.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Is there any other declarations of interest, councillors? Thank you. Councillor Steck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am too for 10.3.1, which is the Bunbury Regional Art Gallery Advisory Group. I too am acquainted with some of those members.
Okay, thank you.
So it's just
Thank you, councillors. We now go down to reports. We start with 10.1.1. Is there any questions on that item, please? Councillor Turner.
Can staff let me know what part of this motion isn't already implemented by staff, please? I'm just a bit confused.
Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I might get the Manager of Finance to answer that.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Probably those questions have already been answered. We have just workshopped our borrowing limits, and we've done a number of workshops on that matter in the past. As regards to the variations between long-term financial plans, they are available.
Thank you. Any further questions on this item, councillors? Councillor Gassett.
Just, Madam Chair, yes, this information is available. This is handy for the public as well. The graph shows a peak in around 2027. My understanding is, and it's correct, that we haven't in our long-term financial plans or our loan balances allowed for future projects such as the art gallery, the ocean pool, projects like that. I'm just wondering whether we should be looking at that, as anticipated projects, so we can see where we're heading if we add some of those projects in as an anticipated project, not firm projects.
Thank you. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Look, I addressed this at the Audit Committee, and we wouldn't generally put information into the long-term financial plan until there's some certainty, or we've got a council recommendation, if I just talk about the art gallery that we're working through, but until we have a business case and have a better understanding of the financial implications, both for the city and with our potential partners, we could continue to model a number of things, but it wouldn't make much sense. Just similarly, that we've got future revenue that we know that through developments that are going to happen, whether that's Glen Iris, Stewart Brook, whether that's Back Beach, whether that's hotel developments, where do you start and stop? The long-term financial plan, as I've discussed with elected members, will go through a period of review. When we give elected members have just received information on 9 asset management plans that have now been through some rigour, and as we get rigour in those figures, we'll look to update the long-term financial plan to reflect that. Future projects will, you know, the bit that we need to work through is what would the city fund versus what would our other funding partners. We're not going to deliver projects in isolation of state and Commonwealth funding and understanding the operational costs over the life cycle of whatever assets we're bringing. So, you know, my advice is I wouldn't be looking to bring something that's speculative. I would rather bring something that's got some rigour and some validation through, you know, as we're doing with the asset management plans.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Is there any further questions on this item, councillors?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Stepp?
Just on touching on what the CEO's just stated, for the community's understanding, so we're progressing, for example, the ocean pool. At what point does due diligence become an entry point into the long-term financial plan?
Mr CEO?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. If I talk about the ocean pool, we have a business case now that has an order of magnitude of costs, but we're also looking at some of that as a project, some of the land development around there that will make it more hopefully viable going forward. When we're at a point where we want to seriously, we've got a, you know, as we all know, a state and federal budget that are upon us next year, I would think that we would bring the consultation. So as you know, we're doing further consultation in regards to the ocean pool, and then we probably need to review the assumptions and the costings and perhaps get an updated costing of that. I think when we're in a position to launch our, you know, to have a business case, we would bring a business case back to council that has all the consultation but all of the information and seek a decision from council. Once we've got that decision from council, that will be the point where you would look to update the long-term financial plan, because we may only be looking at 20% of the funding of the total cost of the project versus, and looking for our state and federal partners and others maybe to fund the 80. So I would think the business case should articulate that, and that would be the time you would do that.
Madam Chair, further question?
Yes,
Thank you.
Councillor Stepp.
Through. Just on that information that you provided, thank you, Mr. CEO. However, the current business plan that we have got is actually flawed in the sense that we can't engage in shares and shares portfolios to help fund it. So are we going to go back to the people who designed and wrote that business plan and ask them to remedy that, or what direction will we be taking?
Mr CEO?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So thank you, Councillor Steck, for the question. Before I put a further report up to council, I'd look at all of that. So I would want that business case to reflect the state government's planning process, so that we're addressing all of the issues that we should in the business case, and that the funding options and any of those things that you would expect to be part of a business case would be addressed as part of that process. So I wouldn't be bringing a report back to council with a finalised business case until we've done, you know, more work and all of those questions answered as we would expect to do. If we're asking the state and federal government for funding, they've got a process and a business case template that we would follow.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Gassib.
Just again on the loan balances, the long-term loan balances. I'm just curious as to what determines when we start putting these on the loan chart here. I mean, considering we're spending money, 300,000 on the ocean pool, I think we've allocated 200,000 for the art gallery, and we're out in the community telling people, I've been to functions where we've told people these things, you're going to get them. I'm just wondering whether, if it's a $60 million, probably $70 million between the art gallery and the ocean pool, if we provide a third of that, say $25 million, should we be starting to have a look at when that all triggers and when it kicks in, considering we've also told the community that the art gallery is going to be up, you know, in around 5 years' time, which is close to just after the peak of these loans. Now, just to get some idea of where we're heading.
Thank you, Councillor Gassib. Mr CEO?
Again, Deputy Mayor, I think I've answered this question. We can do whatever modelling we like, but until we've got some certainty, I wouldn't be speculating about what the cost to the city would be for any project. Your Councillor Gassop and all the elected members here are well aware that through the Vision Day, we do have talked about some of these key projects, but they're only still, they're projects that still need to be worked through a proper business case process like anything else, particularly if we're going to ask, you know, for funding from state and federal government. So I can spend my time looking and speculating, but I wouldn't do that until I had some rigour and fully understood what the funding implications for the city are.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any more questions on 10.1.1, councillors? Thank you. We'll move on to 10.1.2, Bunbury Harvey Regional Council requests. Is there any questions on this item, councillors? Councillor Turner?
Can we bring up page 31, please? Question 11. It's just a small error, and I don't know if it's because of the minutes from the Bunbury Harvey Council or whether we've done it wrong. Where it states the 5th of September 2024, when I think it should be 2023. Should that be 2023?
Well, seeing September 2024 hasn't arrived as yet, I would imagine that would be the case, Councillor Turner. Thank you.
So just change that.
Thank you. Any questions on this item, councillors?
I have another, thank you.
Councillor Turner?
And I know the City of Bunbury and Shire of Harvey and Bunbury Harvey Council are working on a master plan and a business case for the Stanley Road site. How would it be possible to do the long-term financial plan when we're still trying to figure out the future direction?
Well, there is currently a long-term financial plan, but obviously that's being worked on to update on what the current situation is. But there's always been a long-term financial plan for Bunbury Harvey Regional Council.
But I'm questioning how could we, I mean, obviously that's going to change depending on the business case and what direction they go in.
That's correct. Mr CEO, do you have any comments?
The only comment I'd make is that similar to the City of Bunbury, and I've just talked about the fact that we're updating our own long-term financial plan, so we all have one. The issue is how rigorous or how up-to-date they are with the information that's, and as you know, for us, Councillor Turner, we're doing the asset management plans and a whole lot of work in that space. You're right, the future planning around the Stanley Road site to become a sustainability and innovation hub, you know, we'll have a bit different business model as we work through that, and we have a business case and a master plan that outlines that, but that would be an appropriate time to revisit the long-term financial plan for BHRC.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Is there any further questions on 10.1.2?
Madam Chair, can I just make a comment? I know it's probably not appropriate, but by personal explanation, I was at that committee meeting and it wasn't meant to force the committee to do these things now. It is down the track for next year, April.
Councillor Stick, I perhaps think that explanation should be at the full OCM rather than an agenda briefing session. Would you agree with that, Mr CEO?
Your judgment,
okay.
Chair?
Yeah, I would just think if you wish to bring that up at the OCM, that might be more appropriate, Councillor Stick. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further questions on this item?
Madam
Councillor
Chair,
Gassett?
is the Bunbury Harvey Regional Council a regional council? That's a number of questions in one. Is it required to provide reports as per the Local Government Act, including corporate business plan, a long-term financial plan, strategic community plan, what's the other one? Future? Plan for the future plan. And if it's required, are those plans available? And if they're available, are they current?
Councillor Gassip, as you know, I'm no longer the chair of the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council, but on all the years I've been on it, they have complied with the Local Government Act because they are subject to the Local Government Act. So they've complied, in my view, with all of those requirements. Mr. CEO, have you got anything to add to that?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You're absolutely correct. And you know, in my time at the town of East Fremantle, I was also on a regional council with the South Metropolitan Regional Council, and they are a regional council, but they do have made up of representatives from however many entities are part of that regional council and have all of the same requirements as a regional council as we do here at the City of Bunbury. So,
thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further questions on 10.1.2?
Yes, Madam
Councillor
Chair.
Quiet, sorry, just a moment. Who had the hand up first? Councillor Gassip or Councillor Gassip?
Yeah. So if they are available, can we please be provided with at least the corporate business plan?
Certainly, we can request the council to do that. We can't make them do anything. They're a separate council. But Mr. CEO, do you agree we can ask for those?
we certainly could ask for them. I would suggest I haven't had a look at the BHRC's website lately, but I would think all of those documents, like ours, should be on there, and if they're not, we can certainly request that.
Thank you. Councillor Quain. Oh, is there a further question, Councillor Gassip?
I've had a look. They're not on there, corporate business plan. So it would be appreciated if they can either put them on their website or be provided to, certainly to me as a councillor, if that's available, including the other required plans in accordance with the statutory requirements as required by a regional council.
Thank you, Councillor Gassip. And can I add that any councillor of either Bunbury or Harvey is welcome to attend any meetings. They're open, just the way this one is. So any councillor is entitled to attend, just as they would observe another council. So, Councillor Quain, do you now have a question? No, Councillor Gassip asked it. Okay, thank you. Any further questions on this item, councillors? Thank you. We'll move on to 10.2.1, proposed closure of drainage reserve and have Minister acquire as a Crown land lot 133 on deposited plan 6803 Willoughby Street, South Bunbury. This was your declaration of interest on this one, Councillor Andrew? Was it another one? Okay. And you're remaining to listen. Okay. Any questions on this item, councillors? Well, Councillor Turner? I thought someone would ask. We love drainage reserves.
Can I just get a bit of an explanation? Because I looked at the picture and where their block isn't near where the drawing is. Can we bring up the picture?
Mr. CEO, thank you.
Because you've got the red block outlined, the drainage, and then their property is over in Goldsmith Street. So I don't understand. And there's no actual drain there now. There's just a fence, and I'm confused. Can someone explain it, please?
Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Perhaps I can probably maybe take that on notice because we don't have any planning staff, I don't think, here, unless the Acting Director of Sustainable Development has a comment.
Thank you. We'll get that information for you, Councillor Turner. Thank you. Any further questions on the proposed drainage reserve or proposed closure of it? Thank you. We'll move on. 10.2.2, endorsement of Bunbury Geograph Investment Prospectus. Any questions, please, councillors? Councillor Steck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I note the letter that they've sent and the investment prospectus. However, my question relies to, because it's quite considerably written and in relation to even land development and housing. So my question relates to Wonju in Eton, and did the Geograph Investment Prospectus and the Economic Alliance, did they put in a submission to support Wonju? Because this council did not. We put a report against Wonju. So I'm asking, did the Bunbury-Wellington Economic Alliance put a report in favour of Wonju development?
Mr CEO?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think we've also got some questions from Councillor Quain around BGEA. So, and given that the Mayor is our representative on BGEA, it may be worthwhile for any of those questions, including Councillor Quain's and Councillor Steck, your question, if we were to respond to those, but also I think it's probably appropriate that the Mayor, who is our representative on the BGEA, respond to those. He's part of that. I don't go to those meetings, but that would be appropriate in my view.
So, Madam Chair, with your permission, will I ask the questions next week?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that appropriate? Yes, it is.
Perhaps, Councillor Steck, if you're happy to email me those questions, I'll include them with Councillor Quain's, and we'll probably do an advice note that covers all of those questions. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Steck. Councillor Quain, did you have a question on this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I do have an email that I've submitted a heap of questions, but I've just got one more that I would like to add. I just would like to know if the Bunbury Regional Harvey Council was considered as a project to be included in this investment perspective, considering that 2 LGAs are members of BGEA. I'm just curious to know if that was considered as a potential project.
Thank you, Councillor Quain. I think we'll add that to ask of the Mayor, seeing he's a member of that committee. Thank you. Can we do that, Mr CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. The only other thing I would say to that is this is a membership-based organisation, and I get that there's 2 of those councils. With the BHRC and the Sustainability and Innovation Hub, that is one of the priorities that's been put forward for the Swalga zone. So we've got that as one of the 4 priorities that's going through that process. So not saying it shouldn't be in here, but it's also it's going ahead through the zone's budget priorities for next year.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any further questions on this matter, councillors?
Just
Councillor Gossett?
a bit of a conundrum, really. Madam Chair, I don't think I've got a conflict of interest, but maybe I'll review it by next week, because the point of Wonju was raised and our family does have an interest in that area. So I'll have to reconsider. I'm not sure. I don't think it's mentioned in the report, though.
Thank you, Councillor Gossett. Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? Okay, we'll move on to 10.2.3. Strategic Advocacy Priority Status Report, period ended 30 April 2024. Any questions on this, councillor, with that scintillating name in the beginning? Councillor Steck, you've got your light on, so you must be...
I just want to go to priority 6, advocate for the City of Bunbury to be the preferred site for economic development outside of the Perth metropolitan area. I just would like the question put. What are we doing in relation to power supply and our advocacy in that area?
Mr CEO?
I would think power supply is covered in the BGEA prospectus. I'd need to have another look at that, but I'm happy to take that perhaps question on notice. There's nothing in that I can think of, but I'll take that on notice, Deputy Mayor, if you're happy with that.
Yes, absolutely, Mr CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a further question in relation to energy supply. Could you also please, Mr CEO, include that for the CBD in expansion for commercial realities for small business and also high-rise developments, like hotels and things? Thank you.
CEO?
Again, Deputy Mayor, happy to take that on notice.
Thank you. Councillor Quain?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to acknowledge that I've also emailed in some questions on this item, and I also would like to add, so I'm interested, when does council get to review these priorities and maybe the order that they're listed, and any additional advocacy pieces that we could consider?
Mr CEO?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is a report on the current ones, but I'm pretty sure that's due to come back shortly, Councillor Quain, so within the next few months, a review of those priorities, those advocacy priorities. Happy to follow that up.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors?
Can we just go back to that form that we had up a minute ago, please? Can you make that bigger? Thank you.
Do you have a question, councillor Turner?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. Priority number 5 says the Mayor and Councillor Gassett represented the city at Accords West Symposium. I was also there. I'm not sure. I think Councillor Quain was also there as well. Were you there, Gabby? Yeah.
Well, councillor Gassap is noted as being attending there, but you weren't. Is that, yeah? Is that right, councillor
No,
Turner?
I was there.
You
and
were
so
there.
was Councillor
So
Quain.
you want those noted, do you?
Well, if he's going to be noted.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions on this item, councillors? Thank you. We'll move on to 10.3.1. Any questions on this, councillors?
Sorry, Madam Chair. I would just like to know with point 2, the councillor representatives on the Bragg Advisory Group, is that moving towards a independent board as it was in the past?
Yes, Mr. Chair, look, can I just say from my point of view, yes, we should, but then I'm only one person, but I'll hand it over to the CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think my point has been with Bragg that this doesn't indicate that these 3 members would be part of the independent board, but I think the independent board needs to be considered in probably the relative short term. So obviously what we're doing now is establishing the governance around the new gallery project. My opinion that I've discussed with the Mayor is that I think we need to move to getting Bragg to be independent and have an independent board again. And also the foundation for that matter, I would think. So there's lots of thinking that's been done around this in terms of the new project, but I think we need to get momentum by getting the independent board back.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. And Madam Chair, further question? Just in relation to the information the CEO has provided, not through workshops, but will we have an open opportunity as councillor to contribute to the, I guess, identification of movement forward in towards Bragg? So will I personally have the opportunity to write to you as CEO with my views and submit them if we're having a public, well, an open period between council rather than a workshop?
Mr. CEO.
Thank you again, Deputy Mayor. Absolutely. I mean, it's a big decision. It was a big decision to bring it back into council, and I think, you know, undoing that or going back to an independent board, again, in my opinion, is something that we need to work through as a group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on this item, councillors? Thank you. We move on. 10.3.2. Any questions on this item, councillors? You have to do a real swivel sitting in this chair. I didn't realise how hard it was for the Mayor. We put an oil can in here for him, maybe. No questions on this, councillors? Thank you. We move on to 10.3.3, another rate exemption application, another delightful notation. Any questions on this one? No, thank you, councillors. 10.3.4, schedule of accounts paid period May 2024 to 31st of May 2024. Any questions on this, councillors? I think Councillor Steck, Andrew, then I'll come back to you, Councillor Andrew. Thank you. Councillor Steck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do actually have a few, so what I might do is put them to the CEO for a response. But however, I do have one that sticks out for me, is JH Computer Services, WA. There is a IT equipment Samsung Flip Pro mobile workstation for, I think it's $8,345.70. Is that just for one?
Mr CEO.
I think that's probably something we'll take on notice and provide that detail. And Councillor Steck, if you had some other questions, we're happy if you send an email through that we'll respond to those accordingly.
Yes, because there's another one there too, which is the Surface Pro computer keyboard. That's $4,296.60. So there are, and then I'm guessing is that for one? So there are several questions, and I take note of what you've just said to me, and I will put them in writing, sir.
Thank you. And if it's Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, I noted that there was just over $23,000 spent on plumbing services this month, and about $32,000 in the previous month. Has there been a cost-benefit analysis done about bringing some of these maintenance jobs in-house? And I do believe that a lot of this is actually damage caused by the public to our facilities and blockages. So has there been any work done on CBO about bringing it in-house? Just a curly one for the directors last meeting.
Thank you, Mr CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There's no formal review that we've done, but the Director of Infrastructure in his last meeting may want to make a comment, because I don't think he should get away scot-free.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. No, there hasn't been one done. Is it something we do look at regularly? It is something we look at regularly, but obviously a lot of those services require a qualified plumber. So you would need to employ a qualified plumber on staff to do it. I suppose the question is, do we have sufficient work to occupy a plumber for complete 8-hour shift 5 days a week? I don't suspect we would. Usually it's getting him in emergency situations or blockages or other things. So no, we haven't done it, but it would be something that we'll continue to look at as we move forward.
Thank you, Mr Harris, which is probably one of the last questions you'll answer for us for a while. Thank you. Any further questions on this item, councillors? Councillor Gassip?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Page 81.
But then again, and Mr Harris, it may be not yet.
Just wondering, there's a account for pay Mr Bianco on page 81, top of page 81. Reimbursement for, I'm guessing it's not a travel to South Africa, but reimbursement for South Africa travel, Indian Ocean craft. Is that to do with the gallery display or the show we had a couple of months ago?
CEO?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll ask the Director of Corporate and Community to answer that.
Through the Chair, Dr. Bianco has been appointed as a consultant for us, and he's doing a lot of work around the investigation into the new art gallery. And part of that agreement with him is that we will reimburse him when he does field trips to benchmark against other regional galleries. That trip was part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was one of my questions. However, it wasn't the invoice item that I picked up. Michael Bianco Art Consulting was for consulting services in art and culture. That was for $37,300. And could I also have an explanation for where that was spent, please?
Yes, through the Chair. That is part of the payment of the contract we have with Dr. Bianco. There is a payment on a quarterly basis, so you'll see that lump sum come in during the course of the year as we pay him. We have weekly meetings with him and have key KPIs that we are talking with him on a regular basis. So payments won't proceed if we're not happy with the delivery of what we require.
Thank you, Karen Stratton. Madam Chair, may I ask a further question in relation to that? Do we have a complete budget for this consultant? And if so, what is it? So I'm asking, is there a rolling budget or is there a limit?
Mr CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Steck, for the question. There is a budget and there's been provision put aside in the long-term financial plan for this expense. So that's been over the last year. There's been money put aside so that we had the capacity to pay for a consultant, which is part of the council recommendation that I'm working to.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions on this item, councillors? Thank you. Move on to 10.3.5, Bunbury Regional Theatre Incorporated, endorsement of new board members. Now that is a catchy title. Is any questions on this, councillors? Thank you. Appears there are none. Move on to 10.5.1. Appointments to Climate Action Sustainability Working Groups. Any questions on this, councillor? I presume, Mr CEO, that the appointments will be done next week. Okay.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Any questions on this item, councillors? Thank you. I think there are no applications for leave of absence. We do have one notice on motion from Councillor Gasseb, which is for next week, which I'll read out. Councillor Gasseb's motion is that the City of Bunbury Council requests its CEO to undertake a cost reduction investigation and bring back options to Council within 30 days and prior to the adoption of the annual budget. Okay, so that'll be on next week. Thank you. Councillors, we are on to 13.1. There are none of that, is that correct? 13.2. And new businesses of an urgent nature introduced by the decision. There are none, is there, councillors? We do have a confidential item, councillors, but is there likely to be any questions on that confidential item? Not likely to be any questions? No? Okay. Before I close the meeting, I would like to make note that this is the last meeting of Mr. Harris, and thank you for his dedication and hard work on behalf of the city. And we'll miss some of the arguments, Mr. Harris. But they weren't too scary, were they? So thank you very much, and we wish you all the best for you and your family in the future. Thank you. On that note, councillors, I will close the meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance.